Hey everybody, so we left off with question 9 last time. Let's start to go on. We're going to do the next 9 problems in order. This one here, hopefully this is total review. It was just put in here again because of its importance for algebra. It says simplify the polynomial by combining like terms. So if you don't remember, like terms have the same variable and the same degree. So we look at each of these terms. Terms are separated by addition and subtraction. So there's a plus sign. We have one, we have two terms. Do they have the same variable? Yes. Do they have the same degree? Yes. So therefore, all we have to do is have 14 plus 9 23. So how many x squares do we have? We have 23 x to the second powers. That one was hard. Write the polynomial in standard form. Okay, we should have this down by now. We've been doing this. It actually should have become second nature at this point. When you rewrite something, or you're solving something, or you're combining like terms, we just automatically have a tendency to do it at this point. We order the terms from the largest degree to the smallest, which is the constant. Okay, so this, we have three terms. The one with the largest degree is the x squared. Then we have a negative 7x. Make sure you're carrying that minus sign with it. And then what's last is the plus 2. We just put this in standard form. So this is what it would look like if they gave it to us normally in the textbook or in any of our homework and said, solve the quadratic equation, or find the axis of symmetry, or is this quadratic pointing up or pointing down? This is what you'd look at. Okay. Next one says name the polynomial based on its degree and the number of terms. Okay, so we have a first name and a last name. If you remember, the degree determines your first name. The number of terms determines the last name. So we had special names for first names. If it's a degree of 1, that's a line. So that would be linear. Degree of 2 is quadratic. Degree of anything raised to the third power is cubic. And we're not creative. Just as much as we come up with being creative, everything after that is fourth, fifth, sixth, and so on. The last name, the number of terms. There's one term, it's a monomial. Two terms, it's a binomial. Three terms, it's a trinomial. Any more than that, we just say it's a polynomial. Okay, so let's look at this. We are dealing with this here, so our highest degree is a 2. 2, or second degree, is quadratic. And then we have how many terms? We have 1, we have 2, and we have 3 terms. So 3 terms is trinomial, like a tricycle has 3 tires. 12, simplify. Again, guys, this is collecting like terms, but it is in a different format. They have it in this like stacking like the old school, how we add and subtract things. All right, so here's everything that has a degree of 0. Here's everything that has a degree of 1. Here's everything that has a degree of 2. We add straight down these lists. So 8 plus 2 is 10 x squares. And you have minus 7 and a positive 9. So 9 minus 7 is 2, a positive 2x. And then we have a negative 9 and 7. So if you owe somebody $9 and you pay them 7, you still owe them, or negative 2. 10x squared plus 2x minus 2. You've just combined the like terms, or simplified. Multiply the monomial by the binomial. Okay, guys, so this is, again, this is distributing. Notice we have a monomial, so you're doing the distributive property here. So 2 times 4 is 8. X to the 4th times x to the 1st. Base stays the same. add the exponents. 4 plus 1 is 5. First term is done. 2 times 3 is a positive 6. Notice there isn't an x here, so x to the 4th times 1 is x to the 4th. What's really sitting here, technically, if you want to really be technical, it's an x to the 0 power, because anything to the 0 power is 1. That's why we don't write it there. So if you have this, which would equal x to the 4 plus 0, which equals x to the 4th. I'm going like way more in depth than you need to be thinking about this, but I'm trying to show you the rules. Okay, why are we doing what we're doing? There's always that weird little bit of hidden math when we don't have something there. Okay, not so bad, not so bad. Factor out the greatest common factor. So here we are. We're starting to do some factoring here. Okay, so we have 12 and 8. What is the largest number that 12 and 8 have in common? So the first thing we try to do is we always look at the coefficients. 8. 8 obviously goes into 8 evenly. Does 8 go into 12 evenly? No, it doesn't. So now we need to find factors of 8. So you have 1 and 8. We have 2 and 4. Okay, so let's go with the next largest number. 8 didn't work. And the next largest number is 4. Does 4 go into 12 evenly? It does. So here's part of our number. Okay, now we look. Do both of the terms have a variable? Yes. This has an x. This has an x to the 2nd power. All we do is we say which of those two x's have the smallest degree. Well, it is this one here. So it can come out front. Great. And now we make our set of parentheses. What do we fill in here? Divide this by 4x. Divide this by 4x. 12 divided by 4 is 3. X to the 2nd power divided by x. Well, you subtract this as a 1. Subtract 1 from it. And you have just an x. 8 divided by 4 is a 2. And anything divided by itself cancels out, so those x's cancel. Here you go. You just factored out a greatest common factor. Be careful. It may say what is the greatest common factor. In that case, all you would have needed is the 4x. This says factor out. Factor out means you have to do the whole thing. So be careful. Wording and directions, we must read them. And just as I just explained it to you, what does this say? Find the GCF. I can't tell you how many kids, when we did the homework on the test, every time we did this, they did it wrong because you didn't read directions, guys. It doesn't want you to do all this work. It just says find the GCF, the greatest common factor. Okay, so we take a look at this, and we're looking at this very easily. First thing we need to do is there are 3 coefficients. Which coefficient is smaller, we say? Okay, the smallest coefficient, I'm going to say, is 6. 6 clearly goes into 6 evenly. Does 6 go into 21 evenly? So 21 divided by 6, 3.5. It doesn't. So we need to break this 6 into smaller factors. We know 1 and 6. That didn't help us. 2 and 3. Okay, so the next largest number is 3. Okay, so 21 divided by 3, hey, is 7. And 42 divided by 3 is 14. So that one works. 3 goes into each of these in a nice even whole amount. So 3. Now all we look at is look at your 3 different variables. Which one is the smallest degree? We have a 4th degree, a 3rd degree, a 2nd degree. It's the 2nd degree. There is your greatest common factor. Please do not continue with this particular one. It's a great skill to know how to keep going, but do not keep solving this one because all they wanted is the greatest common factor. Simplify the product. We should be screaming in our heads that we need to use the box method here. Box method. All right, one monomial, x plus 2. The other monomial, x plus 8. X times x is x squared. Here we have an 8x. So we're multiplying these boxes. X times 2 is a 2x. And 2 times 8 is 16. If we have done this right, you should notice that these here line up. That's where we combine our like terms. Okay, so now you have an x squared. And you have 8 plus 2 is plus 10x. And then the last piece comes out, plus 16. Perfect. There is our quadratic. Use the distributive property to multiply. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. That makes it harder. This is so much easier to use the box method for this one, guys. Box method. So we have a 2. This one has 2 terms. This one has 3 terms. We need to make a box that has 3 across the top and 2 on the sides. We have a 2x. You have a 3. We have an x squared. There's a positive 5x and a minus. Make sure you put that minus sign. Minus 3. Now we start multiplying to fill in the box. We add to get out. 2x times x to the third power is x squared turns into x to the third power. 2x times 5x is 10x squared. 2x times a negative 3 is a negative 6x. 3 times x squared is 3x squared. 3 times 5x is a 15x. And 3 times a negative 3 is a negative 9. Great. I'm going to go back to this. Now let's go back to these. We should see that these are the terms that we're going to combine. Okay, so we start to look. There's only one term here that is to the third power, so it gets to come out. I'm going to write our answers across. I'll just write them right below it. 2x to the third power. It's the highest degree. We have to add these two. So 10 plus 3 is a positive 13x squared. Right, be careful here. We have a positive and a negative. 15 minus 6 is going to be plus 9x. And this is the last piece, a minus 9. Distributive property would have been you have to distribute this. Then you have to distribute this, which gives you all these little pieces. And then you add it up. This helps keep you organized. Okay. Last one that we're going to do for today is we take a look at this here. Okay. So here we go. Find the product of x minus 6 squared. I know some of you are like, oh, I can square this x and I can square this 6 and I am done. No, and you'd be totally wrong. Remember that squaring something means that it's this, whatever the base is being multiplied 2 times in a row. Look, x squared was the same as x times x. So this, notice this is all in parentheses. This is x minus 6 times x minus 6, which is what we did up here. So again, you're going to have to do the same thing. You're going to need a box method. X, be very careful with this minus 6. X, be very careful with the minus 6. That's where we usually make our mistakes. Multiply to fill your boxes in. X times x, x squared. X times a negative 6 is a negative 6x. X times a negative 6 is a negative 6x. Negative 6 times negative 6 is a positive 36. So now, look, these are like terms. This is a negative 36x. I'm sorry. Did the same mistake that a lot of you do. We multiply to get in, we add to get out. So negative 6 minus a negative 6 is a minus 12x. The 36 comes out. The x squared comes out. And you are done. All right. That's it for this one, guys. We've done 9 the first day, 9 the second day. And keep going. Remember, this is your EOC review. You are still required to pass an EOC, algebra EOC, or your geometry. Trust me, the algebra is easier than the geometry. So study, and sometimes probably in July, they're going to be contacting you to come and take this test. So do your very best, guys.